The pads are on today. They are thumping. All right. That's what we're talking about on Under Center, podcast presented by St. Xavier, broadcasting virtually from the NBC Podcast Studios. Our Bears insider, you see that man right there, Josh Schrock, Tony and Claire running the show, and Alex Cecilia Hallis Hall getting it in. Josh. We're definitely due Caleb. I know that this is what everyone is here for, but we promised that this was going to be kind of a defensive focus episode. And the defense has actually been doing what we expect the defense to do. I have been surprised looking at your writing over someone that we've been worried about. And right now he's flashing. And we'll get to that later. But right now he's flashing at the 3 technique. But listen, right there, starting with the defense, Josh, what has stood out to you? And can you give us some of the reasons the defense has been able to stifle the offense so far in training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it just comes from really a collective cohesion. I mean, these are basically 11 guys who have worked together for at least 1 year, if not 2. I mean, the secondary, apart from Bayard, has been together for 1 to 2 years, and Bayard's fit in seamlessly. They kind of all just know what they're supposed to do. They know how to play with each other. So they're far. I mean, it's the same scheme also. So they're way far ahead of an offense that's in basic install. From a play standpoint, you start with the line. I think Montez Sweat. Before the pads come on today, you don't really know what to make of line success. And today it was pretty evident that Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, DeMarcus Walker, they all pretty much had their way. They beat up the Bears O-line to start today. A lot of it has to do with, I think, operational issues. They had 5 false starts. And I think once the false starts started coming, the O-line was kind of slow on the get off and got kind of bullied. But Gervon Dexter was really impressive. But to me, I think the initial defensive success comes down to the members of the secondary being both very sticky in coverage and knowing how to communicate with each other. There are very few blown assignments. There's been a couple the past few days, but really, really limited. And then when you have a guy like Tremaine Edmonds in the middle who can just kind of, block a big section of the field, that really helps. So I think on all 3 levels, they've been pretty impressive. And I think that just starts with knowing the scheme and knowing how to play with each other and just being really, they start about 4 steps ahead of this offense.
Did one offensive lineman have which one offensive lineman perhaps had more false starts than the others?
We have 1 for Darnell Wright, 1 for Larry Borum, 1 for Nate Davis, and then 2 for Jatiri Carter, I believe, on the second team. But yeah, just I think it is interesting, and it's kind of harkens back to you start to talk about this offense when it struggles the way we would the Justin Fields one, and then it looks completely different. Like the pads would come on, they came on last year, and all of a sudden everything fell apart. They come on today, and there's false starts, there's operational issues, and then Caleb Williams just kind of rescues it all. He just kind of wipes it all away because you have a guy at quarterback who looks the part, who can rise above operational issues and subpar play around him. And that's something that they haven't had prior to this.
We'll get back to the defense, but I want to stick with that right there. Now, Josh, you've been all around the league, but is it a situation where the offense struggles last year make this look a lot better, even if they're struggling now? So sometimes I wonder, are we heaping praise on Caleb because the Bears are starting from offense hasn't been a strength here in Chicago. So is it too much? Again, that's the question that I'm getting from a lot of people. Is it too much, and is it out of I haven't seen it here, so I'm like, but is it really that? I guess is the question I'm trying to ask you when it comes to Caleb's performance.
Yeah, because I think the praise that he's getting, at least from me and a lot of members of the beat, is not for like basic quarterback play. It's not like, oh wow, he had a 7-yard slant. Like it's for rare ability, right? It's for play extension. It's for off script ability. It's for being able to both escape, extend while keeping your eyes downfield, and then make a throw off 1 foot on the money. It's for precision and accuracy. It's for rare things. It's not because we're just seeing basic things that maybe the Bears struggle with in the past. I think there was a play today where they drew a tight end screen for Gerald Everett, and they kind of let DeMarcus Walker free rush to set up the screen. And I think Justin Fields probably dirts it, right? He probably just, and Caleb just sidearm kind of under DeMarcus Walker, perfect feed. And it's kind of rare arm angles like that, like the ability to manipulate the defense. So I think Caleb gets praised in my mind for things that at least at the moment appear to be traits of superstar winning quarterbacks. He's not there yet. He's got a long, long way to go, but these are things that win you games in the NFL and not just things that you win with if you have everything around you.
Now, outside of the wild plays, do you believe, because the real knock was, can he get it done from the pocket, and does it all have to be hero ball? Do you think he can be efficient and just get it done from the pocket also still?
Yeah, no, I think he can. I think the issue and the big issue with this Bears team is going to be the line. And I think we're going to find out how good this line can be. Today, honestly, Caleb had little time to really operate in structure. I think when he had time to operate in structure, I thought his best throw of the day was a 3-step drop, and he hit Keenan Allen like a 15-yard, dig route over the middle, threw with anticipation. Really, really good throw, an absolute dart. Kind of layered it, and that was really one of the only times he had real time. Like Dexter, Sweat, Walker were all over him all day. And if this line is gonna play like that, then we're really probably not talking about him playing within structure. We're talking about him playing hero ball, right? So that's what it's gonna come down to. But I think if the line can hold up, he can definitely play within structure. Like, he wants to play within structure. He is a very quick processor. He knows where the ball's supposed to go, and all that talk about hero ball, a lot of the things we've seen from him throughout camp so far have been him going through his reads, getting pressured, and then just hitting the check down, or at least trying to hit the check down, like not trying to do too much. So I think that's what he wants to do. And it's just going to come down to this line, which I think has probably not gotten the scrutiny it deserves, just because we've just been talking about Caleb Williams for 4 months, and rightfully so.
So we're back to the old worry. So then, do we take the defensive players' performances, particularly on the line, with a grain of salt because the offensive line hasn't been working at optimum level?
Yeah, I think so. I think, no offense to Larry Borum, like, I expect Montez Sweat to kind of win there. The Dexter thing is interesting. I'm going to monitor it tomorrow, because today was a Coleman Shelton today, and honestly, Dexter kind of had his way with Coleman Shelton and Nate Davis. Now, does that happen with Ryan Bates? Is it a Gervon Dexter thing? Is it like he's taken the leap, or is it like, hey, they just actually didn't solve the center issue and we have bigger issues? That deserves monitoring, but I think his get off is certainly improved. And Jacob Martin got kind of dinged up today, so I doubt we'll see him tomorrow. Kind of an ankle issue. So maybe DeMarcus Walker can be what he has told us that he can be. He said he was only 75% for most of last year, and that's why he felt he was ineffective. And maybe that's part of the reason they haven't added yet. Maybe they believe that, and he can be better than he was. So if that's the case, that'll be good. But I think the offensive line is they just had a bad day. And if they're bad again tomorrow, then maybe we need to kind of tailor our grading of the defense. But I think so far the defense, by and large, has been really good. And I think the cool thing is Matty Eberflus, as he said he was going to do, has thrown everything at Caleb Williams. Like, they were blitzing safeties, they're blitzing linebackers. They're really throwing everything at him just to show him, hey, this is everything you're going to see, and it's okay if you fail, because we want to show you how you can beat this.
Did he pick up on who the blitzer was at any of the times and changed the protections?
Well, I didn't. If he did, I didn't see it. He was sacked. He was sacked all 3 times.
Okay.
And I think,
all right.
And I think one time he squared his body, and in a real game, Jaquan probably would have, maybe knocked him out. Yeah.
Oh man, I want to talk more of the defensive line. How did our guy Tevin look? I know Tevin came out for a second during today's game. Reading your notes.
Yeah, he was solid. He got a little dinged up. Came out for like half of a team period. Got checked out. They did the arm strength shoulder test, and he went right back in. He seemed fine. I thought he was the best offensive lineman today. I mean, maybe that's not saying much, because I thought everyone else was pretty bad. But Tevin, I think, as always, it's just health, right? I don't think it's ever going to be a question of talent or physicality or violence. It's just, can you stay on the field? And when I saw him go down, I was like, man, really? And so I'm glad he was back in there, because it's a guy, like we talked about, who's playing for a contract, and I think who we both agree can be a Pro Bowler if he stays healthy for 15, 16 games. So I thought he looked good, but that's just compared to everyone else who I thought had a really crappy day.
First practice with pads. The gentleman that it's not a knock on him. It's really a knock on the front office. We've said that we're worried about them placing a lot upon Javon Dexter as he gets ready to switch, as he's preparing to further get ready for the system they're asking him to do now compared to the mirroring that he was doing in Florida. With pads on, did he look like the dream that they've been selling us?
Yeah, he did. He did. He really did. He looked long. He looked lean. He looked really fast. He blew up a number of run plays. He was in the backfield pretty constantly, honestly. Wow. And once again, I really wonder if that is a Coleman Shelton, Nate Davis issue, or if that is just who Gervon Dexter is. But I mean, to me, like I said, Caleb Williams was under constant pressure, and a lot of that came from 99. Which, if you're Matt Eberflus, you got to be thrilled about that, because that's what they want to see, right? They talked all last year about rebuilding his stance, teaching about pad level, about get off, and more importantly about not thinking, right? Just read your key and go. And Gervon talked to me about that a lot. He said, last year there were probably half the season where I was overthinking, like the ball would be snapped and I'd be trying to think about what they were, and then I'm on my back foot and it's over and I'm not making an impact. And now, because I understand the scheme and because I understand what they want me to do, I feel free to just go. And he looked really free today.
It's funny because when you said that he was in the backfield a lot, breaking up run plays, that speaks to me about reading your keys, because it's harder to hide the direction of the run than just getting straight to the quarterback. You see the quarterback, I'm in the backfield, I got to go get him, compared to you don't know which way the guards could be moving and which way which gap the running back's going to go out. So that seems like he's doing well. I guess my next question, which pertains to Gervon and DeMarcus Walker, if they remain showing us that they can play at this level, you mentioned DeMarcus Walker was saying that he was around 70-75% last season. Do you see them still bringing in a veteran defensive lineman sometime during this offseason to go along with those guys like they did Yannick Ngakoue last year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's going to depend on a lot of things, right? It's first going to depend on, I think, health. Like I said, we saw Jacob Barton tweak what looked like an ankle today and leave, and he's been pretty impressive early on. A guy they really liked, who had, I think, a 17.3% pass rush win rate last year for the Colts, which is pretty good for a situational guy. So if they start losing bodies, maybe, and I think another thing that's going to depend on is how does not only Gervon Dexter, but how does the Andrew Billings tinkering at 3 technique go? Like, how does the interior pressure look? Because if DeMarcus Walker can be, 50% better than he was last year on the field, like if he can give you 6 sacks and a win rate of 10, that's great. And you don't have to go sign Yannick Ngakoue. But if he's going to be around 2 sacks and a 4% win rate, and Gervon Dexter is not going to take the leap or only taking part of the leap, you're going to have to add someone else, or you're going to ask Austin Booker to make a much bigger leap than probably you're expecting in year one for a guy who is really toolsy, but incredibly raw. Like, we're talking about a guy who's just, he's 20, right? He's just incredibly raw. Like, it'd be wild for them to expect a lot out of him this year. So I think for me, I'd still like to see them add, just because I think this defense has the chance to be special if healthy. But I think if they don't have that, if you can't get pressure with 4, Flus has shown the ability to dial up some really exotic looks, but we saw that last year, and eventually you just get burned. Or eventually you're sending different looks. Eventually someone catches on and they hit you. And when they got pressure with 4, they were really good. And when they started having to bring either 5, or they had to dial up something exotic, they got burned.
Yeah, and we saw guys missing the gaps, and like you just said, getting burned on run plays, missing gaps.
Right.
So not just pass plays.
Right.
We talk on this show under center in waves, Josh and I. Josh, so how many waves right now on the defensive line would you say they have? Where are we at?
Oh man, I don't know if you call it a wave. It might be a puddle. No, it might be a puddle. No, they probably got one. I think
a wave.
I think they got one. I think that you got Sweat, Dexter, Billings, and Walker. That's one. And then you get to the second level, and you got Pickens, you got Martin, you got Dominique Robinson, you got Booker, and that's not really a group that I think you can rely on, right? And that's why I probably think you look to add, just because that helps you with the wave, which you're going to need both for in game, and also because there's going to be attrition.
I want to get to the defensive back, Josh. I always like the fact that you've been around several NFL teams. I'm not saying that they're the Legion of Boom or anything like that, but size and speed is really the question. Have you seen a defensive backfield with this much size and speed that the Bears have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Niners about 4 or 5 years ago, last year, Sherman was really good, and they had Jimmy Ward at safety. They were really long, and they were probably not as fast. I mean, this group, they fly. I mean, when Kyler Gordon, he's been out for the last couple of days with tightness, but he flies around. Jaquan has. I mean, there's not even a governor on that. It's always gas pedal. He's flying all over the place.
Right.
And I think Tyreek Stevenson's going to be the key, right? I think we talked so much about this secondary with the expectation that Tyreek Stevenson is taking the sleep. And we don't know if he will. Like, he's got the tools. I think he's got the ability. He showed flashes of being a really, really good cover corner, but he was beaten a lot last year. And that happens, right? That's literally life as a rookie corner. Like, I rarely, unless you're Sauce Gardner or a very rare prospect, do you come in and you're locked down. Like, you right. Get teaching moments. Mike Evans catches 9 balls on you for $140 and 2 touchdowns. And it's like, well, hey, welcome to the NFL. Mike Evans does that to everyone. And I think Tyreek Stevenson is made of the right stuff. I think he's wired properly. We talked to him yesterday, and pretty much all the questions were like, hey, like, you're pretty bad last year, but you started to figure it out. Why is this going to be different? He was like, look, like, I just am going to be good. Like, I'm just going to do what Jalen Johnson did. Jalen Johnson struggled, and then he became great, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I think he's aware that teams are going to continue to pick on him. Like, teams are not just going to all of a sudden start throwing at Jalen Johnson again. That's just not going to happen unless you, Tyreek Stevenson, prove that they should throw away from you. And I think he welcomes that, and he's got the ball skills. He's got the cover skills. He just has to, as we talked about last year, not be so handsy, kind of tone down the penalties, and not be so – he's very anxious, right? Sometimes he gets so excited and he makes a mistake and he'll give up a big play. But then we saw him against Cleveland when he came all the way across. He broke on the seam route to Njoku and made the pick. So he's got those instincts. I think he can be really good. And if he makes the leap, this is going to be the best secondary in football.
Ooh, talk that talk, Josh.
And if Jaquan Brisker is healthy, because he just throws his body around, with reckless abandon. So that's a worry.
All right. I feel you. I feel you on that. I want to get real quick back to the line. How is the center situation looking between Shelton and Bay? So let me ask you this. Yeah. With what you just said with Gervon Dexter, right? As far as being able to handle Shelton being a speed guy, Bates being more of a physical guy. Do you think that they will allow their defense to dictate who will be the starter? Because other teams may not have a Gervon Dexter, just using him as an example. But do you think they'll go off of, if Bates is able to handle Gervon Dexter, that may help him and benefit him become the starter moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it'll dictate, but I think what we've learned about Matt Eberflus is that he puts a lot of stock in practice, right? He always talks about, preseason games are good, but it's all base, it's all vanilla, but we get the real work in practice. So I think if you see one guy really struggle against Gervon Dexter and Andrew Billings, and one guy, really kind of handle them or at least hold his own, I think that's going to hold a lot of weight, as opposed to, maybe you play really well against the Bengals second string defensive tackle. I don't know how much weight that really holds. We did talk to Ryan Bates today for the first time since his trade, actually. And he actually admitted the Bears had tried to trade for him 2 previous times before the third time was a charm. So Ryan Poles, it's funny, they try to trade for him 3 times and there's a competition. And I feel like it's not really competition. I feel like they want Ryan Bates to be the center, because I think that Ryan Poles thinks Ryan Bates is something special. So I'm looking forward to watching Ryan Bates in pads tomorrow against Javon Dexter.
Now, wait, when he said 2 times prior, is he including the time that Buffalo matched the deal as the initial time, or is this 2 times after they tried to sign him away from Buffalo?
Yeah, the way it sounded was it was 2 times after that, because he mentioned the contract match, and then he was like, and then they tried to trade for me 2 other times. It didn't work out, and then this time it worked out. And it was like, wow, okay, man, I don't know.
He loves him.
He loves Ryan Bates. So
it's the Wolverine picture holding the bed, basically, looking at Gene.
Yeah, exactly. No question.
Come on, man. Like, I get it, but please slow down. Look, you mentioned, I was reading your notes today that there was a kerfuffle at practice. What took place? I know guys are, getting sick and tired of each other out there right now at the beginning of training camp.
I think mainly guys are getting sick and tired of DeMarcus Walker talking. If we're being honest, DeMarcus Walker, good teammate, but is talking 100% of the time. He does not shut up. And when the pads come on, it gets a little heated. And there's a handoff to Khalil Herbert, and Walker stopped him and then kind of brought him to the ground. And Gerald Everett, he took offense. He took offense, nice. And he started going at it with Walker and Sweat, just kind of jawing. There's a little pushing, and then Caleb Williams actually got in the middle of it and kind of broke it up, and told D-Walk to go over there. And Ryan Bates said he loved it, but he was like, Caleb's got to be careful, because the last thing we want is for him to get in the middle of it and get kind of dinged up, with guys getting heated. But kind of a cool leadership moment, I think, for Caleb Williams. And I think I'm going to write about this on Sunday, but I've been asking pretty much everyone, because I think so much of the talk, we've talked about the fake narrative but we don't know what kind of leader Caleb Williams is going to be. We know he's a good teammate. We know he's a good worker. We know he's a team first guy. But I think I was very curious how a 22-year-old Heisman winner NIL quarterback was going to come into an NFL locker room with a lot of established veterans, like guys like Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett and DJ Moore, who are good dudes, but who are established, and how he was going to lead. And I think everything has pointed to this glowing aura of positivity and confidence that Coleman Shelton said, he said, the thing about Caleb is he believes in himself. And because he believes in himself, we know he believes in the team. And that really elevates all of us. And it's kind of on a snap by snap basis, right? He talked about, he would get in the huddle. He's got this big smile on his face. Hey, fellas, are you ready to go? And everyone just feels lighter because of Caleb's confidence. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that's something that you cannot quantify, because I do think people have talked about it. When you have a quarterback who has that superior confidence and the ability to back it up, that everyone around them, you get the best, right? People talked about it with Brady all the time, because they'd get in the huddle down 4 and Brady was in there, and it was like, we're going to be fine because this guy thinks we're going to be fine. And I think it's really interesting to see how Caleb Williams, who said that he was going to listen first and talk later, has already kind of got his leadership tentacles all over this team, and it's kind of taken root.
Did they separate because Caleb was there breaking it up, or were they headed to separate, in your opinion?
No, Caleb got in there immediately.
Okay.
It was like a push, and then all of a sudden the orange jersey comes in there, and I was like, man, I really hope this doesn't turn out to be something I got to write about, because the last thing I want to see is Caleb getting like a dented finger because of this.
What did the coaches say anything about that incident with Caleb?
No, we only got Hightower today. We'll talk to Flus about it tomorrow. And then yesterday we had an incident where Montez Sweat just instinctually slapped Caleb's hand and knocked the ball out, and then did my bad.
Right.
Because
again, you don't want the finger issue, like you're just saying. You don't want them to end up breaking a finger or bending a finger or hyperextending it before the season even starts. And we already know, for instance, that how the Bears right now seemingly like to hold out the quarterback, and thinking about how holding out the quarterback. Will we see Caleb play in the Hall of Fame game in a week from now?
Yeah, Matt Eberflus said, they're going to make a decision soon. I really struggle to see the benefit of that, right? It is an extra game. It's not like they only get 3 still, and that's one of them. They're getting 4. And I just don't know the benefit of putting Caleb Williams out there. You have to imagine Braxton Jones wouldn't play, right? He's still been limited. He's been kind of coming along, but they probably won't put him out there. And you're kind of, what is the benefit of Caleb Williams taking 6 snaps in Canton, Ohio, versus the risk of, maybe he doesn't even get the protection call wrong, but someone mishears it who isn't the starter, or someone just makes a mistake, and it doesn't have to be maybe he just rolls his ankle and he's out for 10 days. That's still not what you're looking for. So I think the Texans will play their backups, I'm sure. I would be really stunned if Caleb Williams takes the field for a game before Buffalo.
What else have the Bears veterans said about Caleb in general and his leadership? I saw Andrew Billings, who we're a huge fan of here. One, I'll say this too. I like the Andrew Billings signing. I thought he was going to be better than what they got. They definitely got a player. I'm happy they signed him to more. But in my head, when they signed Andrew Billings, I kind of envisioned him looking more Vince Wilfork. And I don't mean to age him, but he looks younger than what I needed him to. And I want him to be young. because it's a young man's sport. But I just imagine a more grizzled type of vet. But that's just me being an ass. But
yeah,
what have they also said about them being surprised as the type of leader he is and the type of player Caleb is early on right now during his Bears tenure?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the on-field stuff they talk about, it's really comes down to off-script ability, arm talent, arm angle, and accuracy, and mostly the off-script stuff. I think, you got guys like Coleman Shelton who won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, who is like, you really can't win at the highest level in the way that you want if your quarterback cannot do that, because, I mean, on basically any given play in the NFL, things can just get completely blown up, and you need someone who can just, scrap everything and make something happen. And that's something that, I mean, even Matt Eberflus talked about it, saying, as a defensive strategist, the thing that he likes to watch Caleb go off script. And I know everyone saw the jump pass to Keenan Allen with the toe tap, which I mean, that's, like I said, that kind of stuff is really cool because it's so special and so rare. And there are, I don't know what, 4 quarterbacks in the league, 5 who do that. I mean, that's
Josh, don't do that to me.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just like who can do that. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but I'm saying those are things like that doesn't happen. So from an on-field standpoint, that's what's being talked about. And then the leadership stuff and the off-field stuff, it really starts with poise, positivity, and team first and hardworking. I think everyone's talked about how Caleb is a normal person. Like, he's just a cool dude. He's a normal guy. Our producer is completely losing his mind in our private comments right now. So we're excited that Tony thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, like, I think everyone's talking about how he's a normal dude who is team first, who is hardworking, is always asking questions and wants to be great. And I think the poise and the presence and the aura is important, right? Because I think almost everyone's talked about hearing the media narrative, the fake stuff about how, whatever, he's a prima donna, blah, blah, blah. And everyone has talked about just how special it feels to be in the huddle when he's feeling confident, because he's confident in himself, as I said, and because when that happens and when everyone in that huddle believes that the guy who is controlling the switches is confident, everyone else feels confident. So I think Caleb Williams, and as we've talked about, he gets it, right? Caleb Williams he gets every aspect of this. And I'm not even saying it's manufactured. I think it's real. I think it's who he is, but I think he understands every part of being a franchise quarterback. And when I say every part, I mean every part.
Josh, for anybody that doesn't know, is really a really good person, but can be extremely cynical at times. So when I ask him this question, I really want to know, because he'll shoot it straight. Josh, is this, do you think this is really real when we're talking about Caleb? Like, just, it's early, it's way too early, but you've been around quarterbacks.
In what way?
Is he really special, and can he be the one? Do you think he can truly be the one from the small sample size that you've seen up close so far?
I'll always caveat this with he has a long way to go. There's growth. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be adversity. The skill is rare. The skill is special. What he can do, not many can do. And I believe that. Now, can he do it consistently? Can he do it when the lights are brightest? Can he do it with adversity in his face? Can he rebound from, a 3-pick game? Can he rebound from throwing a game-losing pick 6? These are all things that will happen, and we don't know. But from a pure ability to play quarterback, everything that is needed, arm talent, accuracy, poise, pocket presence, off-script ability, ability to extend, intelligence. Yes. Yeah. I think there is a very real chance that this is 100% real. And I think if the Bears continue to pour everything into Caleb Williams as they have to start, like if this continues for the next 4 or 5 years before the big paycheck comes, there is a very, very good chance that they will maximize what I believe is very incredibly rare potential.
How late into the off season, as far as training camp, Josh, will you become worried if the offense doesn't consistently click?
Yeah, no, I think that's the really good question, right? I think that is something that I need to start thinking about, because I've been looking at it as, okay, these are expected struggles, but the quarterback still looks the part. But if we are 3 weeks down the road and they are still completing minimal passes and things are still getting blown up, you're going to have questions, and then you will be worried. And I think the first thing that I'm going to look at is, I know Matt Eberflus said they're going to play this out. They need to pick a center. They really do. They need to pick one, and it's got to come, I would say, by the Buffalo game, maybe after the Buffalo game. Like maybe you got 2 weeks, but it's got to come, right? You got to really solidify this line, get everyone on board, because I'm not saying they're both not good players, but you want continuity, you want consistency, and you want to figure out what you're really capable of and what the weak links are. Like, is your offensive line losing because it's slow off the ball because it's trying to hear the difference between Caleb's cadence and Andrew Billings, or are they just getting beat? What are your, we know DeAndre Swift's going to be a valuable weapon in the passing game, but what are your other best options? Today we saw Shane Waldron dial up something where he got DJ Moore on Jack Sanborn for a big game. Okay, cool. Do a lot of that. Can you get your best players consistently matched up against guys who they are superior to athletically and give Caleb easy layups? I want to see more of that. Like, I think in the next week, I'm going to want to start seeing the offense start to win some of these periods, because other than today, when, Caleb kind of put on the Superman cape and gave the fans something exciting and hit Tyler Scott for a 35-yard touchdown in the 2-minute drill, it's been pretty choppy, and that's okay. It's day 6, but if we get to day 15 and I'm still saying it's choppy, I'll start to be a little bit concerned.
Has Shane Waldron's focus been trying to get mismatches, or are they still a point where they're just trying to do the install, so they don't want to do too much mismatching because they just want guys to be kind of where they're at before they build off of that by using mismatches and motion and things like that?
Yeah, no, we are still very, very basic install stuff. I think he just kind of likes they break a couple plays out here and there, but it's a lot of very basic short game, quick game, screens, run installs, things of that nature. So the next week or two, I expect they'll start to expand and kind of build off that. And I think I would expect that when the offense gets less vanilla, the defense, it will even out, right? I think the defense is playing 4 levels ahead of what the offense is. The defense has its entire deck to do whatever they want, and Shane Waldron's installing page 5 of his book or whatever, right? So when we get to, okay, we've got 20 pages, you've got a whole deck, it might get a little more even.
Josh, for anyone, make sure when you go to our Chicago NBC Sports app and read all the articles from all of our journalists, but particularly Josh and Alex. Josh, can you expound on Andrew Billings and the cadence with Caleb and what he's been doing with the move and stuff like that?
Yeah. So Andrew Billings apparently has, what we've been told, is the best move call in the NFL, which is, if you're a defensive tackle, basically you just go move and you try to get the offensive line to think that it's the quarterback's cadence and jump. And I mean, he was wreaking havoc on them in the offseason program. And I asked him just about Caleb's cadence the other day, and he said it's gotten worlds better. But even Coleman Shelton today said it takes the mental focus it takes, not because their voices sound the same, but because you are so wired into expecting Andrew Billings to say it and having to be so wired into, okay, is that Caleb or Andrew? That it's taken some time. And that's all about finding Caleb's voice too. I mean, he's done a really good job of kind of growing. And it's funny, I actually asked Ryan Bates, who was in Buffalo for 5 seasons. So he was with Josh Allen when Josh Allen was not Josh Allen. And I was like, hey, you've been with a quarterback who had extreme potential, who kind of struggled, and now is basically the second best quarterback in the league by all accounts. What do you see from Caleb Williams that tells you like he's going to follow that same trajectory? And he flat out said, he was like, if you just look at the growth that this kid has had over the last 6 weeks, there's no question, because of not only the work he puts in, but just the extreme intelligence and the ability to understand and command very intricate things quickly, right? He really has an ability to grasp things quickly and to make quick improvements. And that's happened especially with the cadence, which has gone from a massive issue where they were doing walkthroughs in the cafeteria to Teven Jenkins basically said like, hey, it's pretty much ironed out right now, and we're going to have to, keep tinkering with it, but they feel really good. And that's just a credit to Caleb Williams and the work he's put in to learn something that he did not have to do since his senior year in high school. Well, junior year, because his senior year was canceled.
Josh, just a couple more questions. One, you wrote about the Bears trio of wide receivers. What did anybody have to say about them, particularly Rome Odunze?
Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson, very complimentary of Rome Odunze and how sneaky fast he is, and really his ability to run every route in the route tree, which is something we heard from Keenan Allen too. Like the ability not only to say he can do this, but he can run whips and digs and wheels, and then he can also run right by you if you let him. So more praise of Rome Odunze, and I do think I'm going to keep saying this. Like he was the number 9 overall pick, and I know he's coming into a room with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, but I think a lot more should be expected of Rome Odunze because he is that talented. Like this is a guy who led college football in yards. This is a guy who is not only intelligent and extremely talented, but has rare ability that meshes well with what DJ Moore and Keenan Allen do. Like he can do things they can't, they can do things that he can't. And he has been, I would say, one of the early stars of camp because he is beating Jalen Johnson. He is beating Tyreek Stevenson. Like his talent is clear. And then from Keenan Allen's standpoint, Tyreek Stevenson was just like, man, this guy is a magician. Like with the choice routes, it's just a mind game. Like he's so precise in such a route tactician. And I think that's going to make guys like Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon so much better just every day. Like, and once again, this is no knock on Darnell Mooney or Equanimeous St. Brown, but every day you're going up against 2 all-pro receivers and a star rookie, a guy who's expected to be a star rookie. Like this secondary, which is already good, is going to get real work in once this offense is fully installed. So I think big things are expected of this wide receiver trio. And I mean, there's no reason that it shouldn't be, right? Like if this wide receiver trio isn't special, then something went wrong because they've got all the talent.
Something, either Caleb didn't become who he was supposed to become this year, Shane Waldron didn't do what he was supposed to, or somebody got hurt, or would be probably the reasons. Last question, it's not a Bears question, but you mentioned the Bears maximizing the first 5 years of Caleb, alluding to, of course, before you have to really pay him. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa got his contract 4 years, $212 million, 167 guaranteed, 53.1 mil a year, making him the 3rd highest quarterback being paid annually. Your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa getting paid, Josh?
That's too much money. Too much money. No, thank you. I know you have to pay the quarterback, but for a guy who was literally like, everyone was like, oh no, and then Mike McDaniel came, and now it's like, oh, we got to give him $53 million a year, of course. And I can't wait to see what Jordan Love's just going to top it in like 2 days. So I think, when we talk about Caleb Williams, we talk about the winning window for the Bears should be starting next year through the end of that rookie deal, because we've seen the Bills fumble that bag. We've seen the Chargers completely boot away Justin Herbert's rookie contract, right? That's something you can't do. That's not something you can't overcome. Right. But it gets a lot harder when all of a sudden you can't give, Jalen Johnson $90 million, or you can't give Tremaine Edmonds $80 million, right? You got to make hard decisions. So, the time is now for the Bears. Ken, I did want to say something. It is interesting that of all the 6 first-round quarterbacks taken in the draft, only one has been fully given the starting nod, and that's Caleb Williams. Everyone else is either competing, right? Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota splitting, Drake May fully on the second team right now. Jacoby Brissett basically named the starter unless something crazy happens. JJ McCarthy is going to hang out and split reps with whoever the backup is, because we know how that goes. And then Bo Nix is splitting with Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. So for all the talk, that we wasted 2 months on being like, hey, who are the Bears going to take? And the Bears made their decision awfully quick. We know that. There was only one guy who has, I think, supreme talent and what is a pretty good class. And I think, it's pretty special that the Bears, for once, have the upper hand, not only with the quarterback, but with the plan, right? They've done a really good job of basically just turning this all over to Caleb. Like we talked to Tyson Bagent today, and everyone was like, oh, are you surprised that they didn't sign like an established veteran backup? And I think the Bears were right not to, because I don't think it's necessary. Like I think having a guy like Tyson Bagent and a guy like Ryan Griffin in the quarterback room is all you're going to need. Like there's no reason to mess with this at all. Like you don't want to be asking DJ Moore who looked better. You don't want to be asking a veteran quarterback, how did the rookie look? No, just give Caleb Williams the keys. And all credit to Ryan Poles, who has said for a long time he was brought in to break a cycle. And that's how you break a cycle, right? You don't do what the last guys did with Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields. You draft the rare talent, and then you let him go.
Well, one, because you wanted Drake May and I wanted Caleb. So that's a lot. That's a lot coming from you. But I'm in agreement with you, period. But I'll say this too, and I think we've talked about it. I think, and again, there was a lot of hoopla and silliness, and some of it just had to do with some racial BS.
Yeah, you think? Yeah.
With Tyson Bagent.
No question.
Tyson Bagent definitely showed he can do his job as far as being a backup quarterback. So there's no reason at this point, when you got him for what you got him for, to even bring anybody. Now, if there were questions about can he be a spot starter, yes, bring in someone. And he showed capable intelligence to be able to learn an offense. Of course, people would say, well, bring in someone who's familiar to help. But to your point, there's no reason, because one, this is a learning year, and two, and I'll add this too, you've insulated him with so much talent, where because that almost, to your point, would be a problem with a vet, because a vet would know how to use. Oh, they'd be like, man, you see when he's in there, he has all these weapons. Where it's like you've insulated it, so it's going to be, can Waldron do what he's supposed to be? One, can the offensive line hold up? Let's start there.
Correct.
Can Waldron be who he's supposed to be, and can Caleb grow into who we expect? But they've set it up that those answers should be answered compared to in the past. And this is not a knock. You mentioned two guys, Donnell Mooney and Equanimeous St. Brown, and I'm really not taking a shot at Mooney because we don't know what happened to Mooney here, but you knew who Equanimeous St. Brown was when he came in from the pack. So you didn't have weapons to where it could be like, can Justin get it done? You did not surround him like this young man has been surrounded. So I'm in total agreement with you. Now, this is a good article. Make sure you read Josh's article talking about how the Bears were the only team to have named their rookie quarterback as the starter, but also how well they're propping him up for him to succeed. Josh, as always, great work. Shout out to Tony and Claire. Alex will be back with us. Make sure Wednesday you tune in at 5:30 p.m. It will be our last television episode as we transition here at NBC Sports Chicago. We're still going to be on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube. You can always get the audio wherever you get your podcast. Everybody, make sure if you're at camp, you say what's up to my man Josh and Alex. Album pop out there. We always appreciate all of you taking any of your time to hang out with us. And please, this weekend, be safe.
The Bears.
Congrats, you finished the video. If you want to build on that success, download the NBC Sports Chicago app. It's got highlights, exclusive insights, and push alerts tailored to you. Everything you need to be a real Chicago sports fan. Download it now.